Okay, so this is the question we're looking at, and Laura has pointed out that one of the important phrases is to inhabit the skins of her characters. What else is important? Lachlan, what else do you see? That you go, that's writing style, good. Yeah, that she's using the writing style, which is then inviting us to talk about text construction, like how she's actually putting this stuff together. Okay, anything else in there that you go, that seems important? Yep. Good, between the reader and the characters. Okay, so the question is basically asking us, how does she use her writing to make us connect with the characters? That's basically the question, isn't it? Whoop. How does CK use language to connect with characters? All right. Now, luckily, we actually did a creative writing task on this. So we talked a lot about, actually I don't want to have that because it looks messy. We talked a lot about her writing style and what her writing style kind of looked like and how to mimic it. So how does she use her language? What's significant about CK's language? Symbolism, okay. Yeah, figurative language, symbolism, yeah. So, I don't know, man. This is why I need the writing pad, because it does these stupid things. Okay, symbolism. Okay, so what other things about her writing style do we see? What else would you go, this is emblematic of her writing style? Metaphor. And she uses metaphor particularly to describe emotion, doesn't she? Like the stones in the stomach and stuff like that. She uses metaphor to communicate emotion. Okay. Anything else? Yep.
She uses like relatable issues. So sort of
yeah, ordinary issues, ordinary kind of people. Yeah. Oh gosh. This is why I need this pad. Because it's really hard to write.
Wait, do you want to check something a little bit later? Like, because when you flip it over, like, and
It stops
back,
projecting.
Yeah, but I think that's probably because your computer goes into tablet mode. Is that right?
I have no idea. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Okay, so she writes ordinary. Anything else that you kind of go is very emblematic of her writing style? Yep.
The sort of tenses she uses, like so how she uses third person a lot. And
Good.
Very rarely uses
Yeah.
first person.
That's not tense, but yes.
Oh, I mean not tense, sorry.
Person.
Yeah, perspective.
She uses third person limited. Yeah, that she often uses third person limited so that we can kind of really connect with that character. The limited being like putting us in that moment. Yeah. She either uses third person limited or first. They're her only two options she uses. Oh yeah, she has that one moment where she does second. Yeah, or first. Alright. Anything else that we could talk about in terms of her writing style?
Irony.
Oh yeah, the use of irony, yeah. Yeah. Which very much connects to her audience, which is Australian readers. Because Australians are the kings of irony. We love irony. We love that kind of humour.
I always forget
Good bit
what
of
irony
dumb.
means, like how you define it.
Well, it's kind of hard to define irony, but it's like, it's a situation that you kind of look at and you think it's funny, but not ha-ha funny, but kind of like absurd.
Like
That you're like, so like for instance, my great-granddad, here's a story of irony. My great-granddad went to World War One, and he fought in World War Two, went to the Battle of Tobruk, which was in Africa, and it was awful. And they had to live. The reason why they were called the Rats of Tobruk is because they burrowed tunnels underneath the ground and basically lived in the ground for years. It was awful, like one of the most horrendous like war scenarios. Anyway, he survived that. He lived for like 3 years like that, like an animal. Anyway, and then the war was over. It was all happy, blah blah blah. And my great granddad was renowned for being a bit of a drinker, even before he left. And so they got shipped into Egypt before they were going to leave. And the day before he left, he got very, very, very sozzled and got run over by a tank and died. So he survived 3 years in the African battlefield. And then the day before he left, he got run over by a tank and died.
I did not want to.
Which is kind of funny. It's kind of funny. Like in like this kind of like weirdly ironic, silly situation. The irony is that, yeah, he stayed alive while you think that would be the time that he would die. And then when he's finally free, he gets too drunk and gets run over. It's okay. We all moved on. It's okay. But yeah, that would be ironic. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of extreme irony. Yeah. Or like there was this famous writer called Kurt Vonnegut who had decided he wanted to commit suicide by smoking cigarettes. So he became like this ridiculous chain smoker and smoked and smoked and smoked. And he did not die of lung cancer. He died because while lighting a cigarette, he backed up to a stairwell and fell down the stairwell and died.
I'm gonna love that.
He was a very strange man. He was a very strange man. He spent a lot of time in and out of like mental hospitals. He was not a well man. Kurt Vonnegut is a famous writer. Anyway, he's dead now, so don't worry. He fell down the stairs. And it's even more funny because if you've ever read kind of Kurt Vonnegut's work, is that he loves this like black humor, like dark, ironic silliness, and it's all through his books. So it's even more ironic that he died in like a way like that. Like it's just like absurd. Yeah. He died the way he lived. Anyway, so we've got a whole bunch of cool stuff that we could talk about with this one. We've got symbolism. We've got the writing in different persons. We've got writing ordinary. We've got irony. We've got metaphor. What do you want to pick? What do you want to pick? What do you think is good? Yep. Ordinariness. I feel like, yeah, that's going to be a really good one because I feel like that is really a way that we do connect with these characters because we can see our own lives in their lives. That makes sense. What else?
Irony?
Laura can't pick them all. That's not fair.
I can.
Em. Pardon? Symbols. You want to use symbolism? Can I pair two and go symbolism and metaphor? I think that would work really nicely. So let's go symbolism and metaphor and join those two together. We could also throw in irony if we wanted, but again, we've only got an hour to write this sucker. So we don't want to bite off more than we can chew. So I'm going to just go those two just because for expediency. you do need to know when to draw the line with these pieces because you only have an hour. And just like that kid who didn't get to write all 3 pieces, you can't bite off more than you can chew, or you will find yourself in a very deep, dark hole. Yes?
Do you think families would only do 2 paragraphs and just make them really in-depth?
Good question. So I've had cases, Brianna, where people have written only 2 paragraphs and they've absolutely slay them and they're brilliant and it hasn't affected their mark whatsoever. So if you choose to write 2 paragraphs, they just better be shining. Okay? They better be brilliant. It can work. Okay? There is no rule saying you must have written 3 paragraphs. There's no rule saying that. Yes, sir.
So, for
Yes.
the symbols and metaphor,
Yes?
surely we're going to need some examples of this.
Correct.
We're going to have to memorise that before.
Well, I mean, again, Locke, it's about knowing the text. So, like, kids come up to me and they're like, how do I memorize quotes? And I'm like, you shouldn't be memorizing quotes. You should just know the book. Like, I haven't ever sat down and tried to memorize the book, but I can quote bits of it. Just because I've read it quite a few times, I know it, I know the stories. And that's why I'm saying, you know, if you're somebody who doesn't have the time, perhaps, to know all the stories, know half a dozen, know 8, like the back of your hand.
Yeah, I've watched Harry Potter like 20 times and I only remember Expelliarmus and Expecto Patronum.
Well, then you suck. Because I reckon I could perform that whole movie for you, like the whole movie series for you right now. Solo.
See that? I'd like.
I should do that at Mary Mead's Got Talent.
I
And just
Yes.
go, right, guys, I'm going to give you a treat. Here we go. But I am also very good at memorising things like that. Weirdly.
I have the worst memories.
Yeah.
probably why you're good at English.
Yeah, maybe. Right. The third one that I want to do, if I get time, is this person thing. I like that. I like it a lot. And I like it because I know examiners will love that. They'll love you talking about different persons because it's very text construction-y, you know? So I'm going to choose those 3. Yes, sir.
For the quoting,
Yeah.
does it need to be a direct quote, or can you just like mini-ish?
So I guess the way that I would probably tell you to quote is to talk about a scene, something that happens in the text, and pepper in quotes. So little phrases, not big slabs. No one should be writing big slabs of quotes. They should be just kind of borrowing phrases. And when you're giving your evidence, using those borrowed phrases to explain the scene. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah. So you're not supposed to memorize big things, but if you can kind of remember key phrases, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah. Yeah, so for instance, if I was talking about, I don't know, if I was talking about flexion, I could talk about the grasping the hand. So I might use that phrase. Or I might use, you know, like, I don't know.
A beach
What's-
after a storm.
What's the one? Yeah. What's the one where? Oh, it doesn't matter. Whatever. You get my point. Yeah.
Does the quote have to be 2 words or more, or can one word? It's like a
If it's a significant word, 1 word's fine, but it is nice to kind of have a couple. Because it kind of shows, yeah, I know this. I know this. I know this story. Yeah. All right. Are we happy with my ideas? When I say my ideas, they're really yours. I'm kind of stealing them, but regardless.
Hashtag ideas.
Right. Moving on. Let's do them. Now I have to change this because I don't like this slide design. I want this design. Okay. I'm picky. Delete that. Put that there. Ba, ba, ba. Look at me, Daniel, formatting. Ooh. All right. So,
Here you go.
oh, Jesus. Alright. Let's use my shiny gold pen again. Yeah, glitter boy. Alright.
Galaxy pen.
I can't use Galaxy because someone complained about it the other day. Can't even remember who it was. I'm going to blame you all for that. Someone whinged because, like, Galaxy pen was too hard to read. I was like, pfft. Yeah, it would be Brianna, wouldn't it? Alright, so my first paragraph I'm going to do about symbolism and metaphor. Symbols. Alright. So, tell me, what kind of symbols and metaphors help us inhabit the skins of the characters? I'll start you off. We'll use the stones in the stomach from 72 Derwents. I feel like that helps us inhabit the skins. We can feel Tyler's anxiety because we've all felt that stones in the stomach feeling. All right. What else? What other symbols? Yep.
Could you use the $5 family?
Oh, it's because the board's so yucky.
Projector is horrid.
I don't know how to make that.
Where's the thing?
Oh,
The glove thing.
the glove. It's not that. It's like there's like
Colour.
gross on the board, but I don't know how to get it off because it's so gross.
Have you got tissues, Muse?
It's that spray.
I don't know. I think the spray will make it worse.
Are there like tissues or paper towel in the kitchen,
Okay.
Muse?
Let's give it a little go.
Try the cloth or
Let's try that one, yeah.
See, it makes it worse. Doesn't it?
it's cleaning.
Really?
Wait, let me just see.
Makes it better.
Does it? I think it just makes it streaky.
Like, I will be ready by the end. Alright.
You just need a paper towel, Muse.
No, it's gonna come back here.
No, it does. Yeah. You're doing great.
I'm the world's most expensive cleaner. I'm telling you.
I reckon just put in a maintenance request, like for the holidays, clean these boards.
Oh, I
please.
know. I'm going to fix this board.
Yeah.
If you have to get me a new one, do that. All right.
This board's probably been
That's
fixed,
better.
I don't know, since the start of the
That's better. All right. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Is that better? Happy? All right, let's do it. Okay. Similar metaphor. So we've got the stones in the stomach. What else have we got? What other symbols and metaphors do we know? Yeah.
I was gonna use the $5 ones, which describes a physical pain.
Yeah, yeah, about the pulling of the stitches. Yeah.
Now we need listening to.
Okay.
Wait, wasn't what the stitches mean?
The stitches are like, so like the kind of, they represent the pain of the stretching of like her changing, that she's choosing to change and move on. So she feels the pull of them going, oh, can I do this? Like, can I wrench myself away from him?
Yeah.
All right. Yes, darling. The cake in cake. Which represents what?
Wasn't it? Because like it used to be that everyone just had one every week, and then they turned around. Oh, we just do one a month.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like showing how like
Things
when
have
she was
changed.
there, and then when she goes back, and then she makes her own routine. And goes to
Yeah.
and then it changes again.
Yeah, and I think it also represents like the pointless things that we worry about when there's more important things like family to worry about. You know, that we kind of get our knickers in a knot about, you know, the office cake, when really, who gives a shit about cake?
My mum's
You know?
like lives for cake. Like her department, they
Yeah.
love like cake and all them.
Right, hang on. I'll just wait. So I think the cake in Cake helps us understand like the frustration that the narrator feels about the pointlessness of her job, of her work. That it's so pointless and stupid when she's had this really important job of raising her child. That she's just like, why is anyone caring about Cake? I don't care about Cake. I just want to be at home with my kid doing something like worthwhile.
I don't like it. Stop laughing.
Is there something wrong? I mean, there, obviously.
With me.
No. With the guy that you're not supposed to be sitting next to.
Stevie. Who's that? Stevie.
Anything else? Yes?
The overarching theme was kind of like reaching out, like ending with like someone reaching out to someone else.
Good, yeah.
Like, Fire, it's like he reaches out, pulls out her hair. Flexion, they reach out and they grab each other's hands. Which is another one. I don't know. I was thinking of another one.
Yeah.
They like,
Yeah, this
Ashes,
theme that comes out a lot
He
about
reaches out and he
brushes the thing. Yeah. So it's about connection. Yeah. Emily? Forgot?
In Static,
Hmm?
with the walkie-talkies that the motorbikes.
Yeah, and the static is supposed to represent his kind of feelings of
Confused with his name.
yeah, confusion and anxiety. Yeah, the static represents his confusion and anxiety. Yeah. Whew, okay, so we got lots for that. We don't need to worry about that, which is why we kind of made it our first paragraph, because it's kind of killer. All right. Then we said another one of our ideas was going to be writes ordinary, which I feel like, even though it's a very kind of important part of the story, I don't feel like you're going to need a lot of words to kind of explain it. I feel like it's pretty straightforward. Do you know what I mean? Ordinary problems. So, what would you say is emblematic of that? Ordinary people with ordinary problems.
Readers are ordinary.
Pardon?
Readers are ordinary.
Yeah, but like, what stories are emblematic of that ordinary?
Like, I think it's called Cross Country.
Yeah,
Just broken.
getting dumped by a boyfriend. That's like totally ordinary. Yeah, a back injury. Totally ordinary.
Could you say that one for sleepers as well?
Yeah. Sleepers. Yeah, a breakup is like, that's like so ordinary. Everybody breaks up with somebody. Everyone can connect with that idea. And yeah, I reckon Like a House on Fire is definitely another one of those, that it's like everybody goes through a time where they get a back injury, or, you know, they get an injury that like knocks them about for a bit.
Let's just say cake.
Yeah, and Cake. Cake is very ordinary. Every mother goes through that, the time where they have to let go of their child and go back to work. Ask Miss Coyle about it. Actually, it was really funny. Miss Coyle came back to work the other day, so she's only been back for a couple of weeks. And I said, oh my gosh, you have to read Cake. And so she read it and she's like, oh my God, it made me cry. Because she's like, that was me on my first day of work. Like, I was just like, all I wanted to do was get home to June. Like, that's all I wanted. Like, that I would, her baby's name is June.
June?
June, like July.
Yeah. No, it's not like July. It's like June.
Yeah, June.
I thought you would say.
Yeah, June. It's a pretty name.
That's actually really cute.
It's really cute.
Back injury.
Pardon? Back injury. Yeah, it's ordinary.
And you could also say
Hey, can you
financial
feel
issues as well.
voice
Yeah, that's true. With Like a House on Fire, you've also got like, yeah, the finances. Everybody goes through times where you're hard up. Well, you don't, because you live with your parents, so it's alright for you guys. Cool. Alright, my last paragraph
I mean, I
was about using third person limited.
It's insane.
Remember for like a paragraph we talked about like physical disadvantages, like financial disadvantages from stories as well.
Yeah, definitely. In that ordinary one, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, with the third paragraph, I'm going to talk about first person and third limited. Do you guys understand when I say third limited? Do you remember that? So, third limited is where you are saying he or she, but there's one character that I'm inside, like that I know how they feel. So I go, she feels the stones in her stomach. So I know how that person feels, but I don't know how any of the other characters feel. So I'm limited. Because there's third person limited, where you only hear one person, and then there's third person omniscient, where you hear all the characters. So Harry Potter is third person limited, because I don't know how Ron and Hermione feel, but I know how Harry feels. Does that make sense? So it says Harry went to the room of requirement. He was really nervous.
Oh, you remember the names of everything? That's so cute.
Mate, I don't think you realise the level of my devotion.
I've been like read over every page like 20 times.
Oh, hundreds of times.
I've read the
Hundreds
first
of
one
times.
at least.
I've got serious issues.
There was a viral
Have you
video.
been to
Serious.
Universal Studios
Some
yet?
Yes.
dressed up as
Twice.
Dressed
I've been
up
twice.
as singing at a carnival.
Been twice.
It's the Harry Potter place.
To like
Yeah.
a Super Mario
It was amazing.
song.
Yeah.
It's
Did
actually
you
so
have the
good.
VR and stuff?
Yeah, it was not that great.
I like read the whole
It
series.
was not that great. I've made my own butterbeer, and it's great. I don't, but like I had to make butterbeer.
Yeah, I want to read them.
I had to make butterbeer.
Always
I mean,
Yeah, everyone says that it's about.
all right. So, ladies, gentlemen,
Reading's a chore for me.
Maybe that was a joke.
un momento, por favore. So, thank you. Basically, in these paragraphs, Damon, stay focused so we can go. Right, in these paragraphs, you basically address multiple stories on the one idea. So you don't structure through stories, you structure through ideas. Just like we do, when we look at a text with, that's only got one story, we don't structure through characters. Just like that, we don't structure through we don't structure through stories. We structure through, here is an idea, here are the stories that represent it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. Godspeed. Can I say, don't do what stupid year 11s do and not read the book before you go into the exam? Because I sat down with all of the fails yesterday and I said, all right, so how many of you read the text before you went into the exam? Not a hand.
Well, this is the thing.
Not a hand. You know why they failed? Because they hadn't read the book. The dummies.
Are we going to focus on any particular story?
All. Know half a dozen really well.
I only know like.
If you know half a dozen really well, you'll be fine.
Could you get away with it?
I'm just gonna